On December 22nd, 2022, the UFC and MMA community lost a very valuable person. Stephan Bonnar passed away at the age of 45 due to heart complications. For those of you who do not know, Bonnar faced Forrest Griffin in the first ever Ultimate Fighter season finale. Griffin ended up winning, but the fight was so great that Dana White actually gave both of them contracts. And, that fight is hailed as really saving the UFC and saving the company as a whole. Because of that fight, the UFC and Spike TV signed a deal, I believe, backstage right after that fight because the fight was so good. And just a very, very sad piece of news to be shared, especially so close to the holidays. My condolences go out to his family and his friends and his fans, and he will be missed. He will forever be remembered as a pioneer and legend of the sport of MMA. Rest in peace, Stephan Bonnar. And also, before we get the podcast underway, many of you may not know, but I'm a big NFL fan. I watch the NFL every week. Big Pats fan. Last night, the Bills and Bengals were set to play a crucial primetime game, and tragedy happened in the first quarter. Damar Hamlin, suffered cardiac arrest right on the field. It was a very scary scene. They had to give him CPR on the field, and it's something that I've never seen before in all my years watching the sport. Something I hope I don't ever see again. I just pray for his family, and again, just everybody who's important to him. I pray that he can just be okay, and his life isn't ultimately affected for a long time by this incident. But just obviously it's just been on my mind and on my heart. And I just hope that he can make a recovery, and we we just pray for Damar Hamlin, and we hope that he can recover and he can be okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Tyler Russo, and this is the KO Podcast, episode number 25. I hope you had a great holiday season, and Happy New Year to you. 2023 is officially upon us. A new year, a new me. I don't know. I'm just, I guess, celebrating the new year. But anyways, I just wanted to go over the UFC Fight Night Cannoneer and Strickland card. I held off on reviewing it so that I could have something to talk about while the UFC is in their downtime. And also, I want to talk about Bellator vs Rizin. That event happened right on New Year's Eve. And, unfortunate news has surfaced about Dana White and an incident that happened on New Year's Eve. We'll get into that later in the episode. Ring that bell. All right, let's get into this card. First off, we had Sergey Monzorov getting the unanimous decision over Newson. We move on to the next bout. We had a flyweight bout. We had David Doverak taking on Manel Kape, and Manel Kape gets the unanimous decision win. The next fight was a welterweight bout. We had Brian Battle taking on Ranat Fakhunadov. I probably butchered his last name. I apologize, but Renat gets the unanimous decision victory in that fight. In the next fight, we had Rafa Garcia taking on Mishait, I believe that's how you say his name. I am just on a roll with butchering people's names. I truly apologize. But Garcia gets unanimous decision victory. He was bleeding pretty damn bad, though, in this fight. Garcia, I believe, said that an artery was like somehow cut in the fight, and that's why he was bleeding so much. But hey, with all that blood, he still gets that unanimous decision victory. Moving on, we had a bantamweight bout. We had Said Nurmagomedov getting the submission victory. Very impressive win for him. Moving on, we had a welterweight bout. We had Jake Matthews taking on Matthew Selmsberger, and Selmsberger gets the unanimous decision. He hurt Matthews a couple times in this fight, so very impressive win for Matthew Selmsberger. Moving on, we had a women's strawweight bout. We had Cheyenne Vlismas taking on Corey McKenna, and Corey McKenna gets the unanimous decision victory. I still believe Vlismas is a prospect to look out for coming into the new year. So just because she lost this, don't forget about her. Moving on, we had a middleweight bout. We had Cody Brundage taking on Michael Alaskazuk. I believe that's how you say his last name. And Mikel Alaskazuk gets the finish over Cody Brundage. That gives him a performance of the night bonus. Moving on, we had the fight of the night. This fight was everything and more. We had Drew Dober taking on Bobby Green, and Bobby Green had a really good first round, but man, in the second, Dober just clobbers him with a huge hook and shuts the lights out on Bobby Green, and Drew Dober gets the knockout finish. Moving on, we had a featherweight bout. We had Alex Caceres taking on Julian Erosa, and Alex Caceres gets the high kick finish. It was a really interesting kick that he caught him with. Erosa didn't even see it coming, and that made it all the more impressive. It just looked like it was he kind of just did it in his flow of fighting, which is how Alex Caceres fights. That's why he's very fun to watch. But that kick KO gives Alex Caceres a performance of the night bonus. Congratulations to him. We move on. We had a flyweight bout. We had Amir Albizi taking on Alessandro Costa, and Albizi gets the finish. Very impressive finish. Albizi, he has a lot of power for a flyweight, and he continues to make noise in the flyweight division. Moving on, we had the co-main event. It was a lightweight bout. We had Arman Tsarukyan taking on Damir Ismagulov, and Arman Tsarukyan gets the unanimous decision victory. Tsarukyan, very, very impressive victory. And unfortunately, Damar Ismagulov retired due to health issues just a couple days ago via his Instagram. He announced his retirement. So, very, very, very a huge loss for the lightweight division, and really a surprising loss too. But I hope that he is successful in his endeavors outside of fighting. Moving on, we had the main event. It was a middleweight bout. We had Jared Cannonier taking on Sean Strickland, and Jared Cannonier gets the split decision win. I had no problem with the decision. I thought Cannonier landed more of the powerful shots. Strickland, he threw more volume, but it just didn't seem like a lot was getting through or really affecting Cannonier. And yeah, Strickland didn't like the decision. He showed his displeasure, obviously, in the octagon while they were reading it off. But in my opinion, I believe Jared Cannonier won. And that's going to do it for the last UFC card of 2022. Now let's talk about Rizin and Bellator. All right, this co-promotion card, it took place at the Saitama Super Arena in Tokyo, Japan. Talk about reliving the Pride days. I believe Rizin is a spiritual successor to Pride, which is great. Rizin, I believe, has been around since 2015, so still a very young organization. I looked into their Rizin a little bit, their talent pool. It's okay. I'm not familiar with much of their fighters, so I'm not going to pretend like I know anything about them. But I got to talk about this card just as a whole. Bellator, they end up going 5-0 in all of their bouts. All of the winning Bellator fighters won by decision. So, still a very good showing for Rizin, that none of their guys got dominated or anything. From what I've heard, at least, I did not watch the event because it was New Year's Eve and I was out doing other things. But yeah, it's a big risk for both of the organizations. And I think both of the organizations came out looking pretty good. Bellator obviously looks a little bit better because all their fighters went 5-0. But in my opinion, that's not surprising at all. I mean, you got AJ McKee. I mean, he's a superstar. I'm a big fan of AJ McKee. I would have liked them to get the trilogy fight with Pitbull. First, without the trilogy fight, let's put aside that. But really, AJ McKee versus Pitbull 2 just took a little bit too long, at least for me, that they scheduled that. And, I just feel like they should have did it like maybe 6 months after or something like that. But they did, I believe, a whole year after. And AJ McKee is a star. He's a superstar. Just when he talks, his performances, it just screams superstar to me. They need to get this trilogy fight done with Patricio Pitbull. AJ McKee said he would go back down to featherweight. Get this fight done. This is a huge trilogy fight. I would definitely watch it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of others would watch it. But getting back kind of to this Rizin card, obviously, like I said, they went 5-0. It was in a ring under Rizin rules. So that was a little bit different for the Bellator fighters, but Koji Horiguchi, he's obviously familiar with Rizin. He's fought in Rizin. He probably didn't take much to adjust, but AJ McKee, I was at the pre-fight press conference over Zoom, and he was talking about how he could use a lot of tools that he hasn't been allowed to use because of the rules. It was he was very excited to kind of dip into his bag of tricks a little bit deeper because the rule set allowed for it. But overall, with the glimpses that I saw, the crowd looked really great. The weigh-ins were cool. There was a Rizin fighter butt-ass naked on the stage with like a I don't know what it was. It was something with shielding his frontal parts, if you know what I mean. But you could see his ass when he turned around. It was I think it was really cold out too in Tokyo, Japan. So shout out to that guy. It was like 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, this guy can't be fully naked. He's probably got something on under it. No, he turns around and his ass is bare. I mean, hey, you got to do what you got to do to be entertaining. But overall, kudos to both organizations. Like I said, big risk. I hope that more MMA organizations can have some type of agreement to do this more often. It definitely shows who the best in the world is. You can say I'm the best in the world, but if you're only fighting in Bellator, UFC 1, or PFL, is that really true? Because have you fought other people from other organizations? So definitely, I hope that there's future talks. The UFC is probably not going to do a co-promotional fight card because it's just they're not going to do that. And that's a little bit disappointing, but hey, Bellator, if they get this trend going, maybe they can go with somebody else. But yeah, overall, good event. A little bit disappointed that I wasn't really able to see it live, or, it was on tape delay on Showtime, which was a little bit disappointing for the American fans. But, I heard that it was, Japan prime time. So, you got to take that into account as well. And that's all I got to say about this event. Let's move on to some unfortunate Dana White news. Just a disclaimer before I talk about this news. I'm not trying to trigger anybody who's maybe experienced this, unfortunately, but a domestic violence incident did take place at a nightclub between Dana White and his wife. I saw the video that's been surfacing around the internet, and it seems to be that, he leans over and says something to her. She slaps him in the face, and he slaps her back. And it seems like he went after her multiple times before friends, broke it up between them. Obviously, this is just not a good look. Dana White already came out and talked about it with TMZ, trying to get out in front of the story, most likely, because they have a PR partnership with TMZ, I believe, and just not a good look at all. I just think about any other commissioner of a league doing that, and I just feel like this isn't being covered enough, and I feel that it's our job as MMA media members, or whatever you want to call me, because I am just a fan of the sport first, but things like this really upset me. You just should never put your hands on a woman, and I think we all know that. And Dana White went on to say, it was alcohol fueled, and they were heavily intoxicated, both of them. And alcohol just isn't good for anything, really. But that's not an excuse for him or for her. She slapped him first. She shouldn't have did that. She's in the wrong. They're both in the wrong. He shouldn't have slapped her back, or did whatever he did after that first slap, because it looked disturbing. It was really disturbing. I don't know. Like, is ESPN gonna step in? They have the broadcast partnership deal with UFC. I feel somebody has to put their foot down, and I'm not a person in a big corporation or business, but I mean, from the moral side of it, I just feel that someone has to put their foot down. There's got to be, a statement released. I understand it's their marriage, it's their situation, but when it's in the public eye like that, it starts to hurt the brand of the UFC. And I have no power, obviously, over the situation. I don't know Dana White personally. I don't know anything about him other than that he's the UFC president and what he says in his press conferences. But again, just really a disturbing scene. I mean, the onlookers were stunned. That's just not a great way to start this new year. And just to add insult to injury, you have Dana White's Power Slap League coming up that in a couple weeks on TBS. Will that be in jeopardy? Who knows? But I just feel like there needs to be some disciplinary action towards them. Just for doing that. If you look up the video, it's really disturbing. That's all I'm going to say about this matter. And that is going to do it for this episode of the KO Podcast. To stay up to date with the podcast, the Twitter profile, all you got to do is type in the KO Podcast with Tyler Russo. The Instagram handle is the KO_podcast. And the YouTube channel is the KO Podcast with Tyler Russo. I hope all of you have a safe and blessed day. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.